Welcome to the August 2014 Calling All Poets Preamble to the Marathon. There's no sound?
No sound.
You can hear me, can't you?
I can hear you, but there's no amplification.
No, it's hold on.
That was all. How is it now?
You have it.
That's better.
There we go. Again, welcome to the August 2014 Calling All Poets Preamble to the Marathon. Tonight, we have two people who were instrumental in making the Hudson Valley poetry scene exist at all. I think Roberta Gould has been around as an inspiration to young poets and experienced poets alike for as long as I can remember, certainly as long as I've been around. And Robert Milby, without Robert Milby, I don't think they'd be at CAPS, because although Jim Eve and everyone else, Mike Jakovic, has done a ton of work to make this thing work, if it wasn't for Robert Milby, I don't think that there would be a poetry community to speak of. And that's incredibly important. You need people. But first, I'm going to do some events that are coming up. Certainly tomorrow, right here on our stage, is the Calling All Poets Marathon, starting at 12 p.m., going till 11 p.m., with a host of featured poets, Skyped poets, and open micers. There's lots of fun. But, other than that, coming up Thursday, August 7th at 7 p.m. at Noble Coffee Roasters is Poetry Night with the feature Gordon Riggs with an open mic to follow. That's at 3020 Route 207. Corner of Stony Ford Road in Campbell Hall. The host is one of tonight's speakers, Robert Milby, and they ask a $2 donation. Then we have the Würzburg Arts Alliance presents Poetry in the Gallery, which is actually, I think that's before the Noble Roasters. It's hosted by Walter Warden, and it's at 7 p.m. at the WAA Gallery, 73 Sullivan Street, Würzburg, New York. And that is this Sunday, the day after tomorrow, if you're still alive after the marathon. If I'm still alive after the marathon, I'll be the feature. Then we have Meet the Authors, Local Writers Panel Discussion at the Chester Public Library, 1784 Kings Highway, Chester, New York. Saturday, August 9th at 1:30 p.m. Fiction writer Raymond Brown, suspense horror writer Jacqueline Mahan, and poet Robert Milby will share their valuable experiences as writers, with readings of their books, how they got started, getting published, the ins and outs of self-publishing. That's August 9th, 1:30 to 2:30.
No cover.
No cover at the Chester Library. And we have Poetry in Pine Bush, my old stomping ground. 7 p.m. Thursday, August 14th. As a featured poet, an open mic, no cover. The host is Francine D'Alessandro. And that's the Pine Bush Library Community Center, 227 Maple Avenue, Pine Bush, New York, immediately next door to my ex-wife. I will not be there.
That's a brand new series that she needs featured poets for the next 6 months.
Well, maybe I'll be a featured poet.
Yeah.
I have my price. No, we get along fine. I'm just teasing. Do we know who the featured poet is? Robert, do we know who the next featured poet is? Because it's not on
there.
Yeah.
That's the official first night. The ubiquitous TBA.
TBA, a great poet. I've heard many of their works. Yeah, well, let's see. Bohemian Book and Poetry Night, Thursday, August 14th, 2014. Featured poet Walter Warden, plus an open mic, 5-minute limit. Host Teresa Costa, $3 suggested donation at 592 Ulster Avenue, Kingston, New York. And if you want any more information about these, by all means, see me. I have these flyers that you can write the
On the
information
glass
down.
case, when I put them out in the back here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
There you go.
I peddled them.
Mud Poets Poetry Series at the Mud Puddle Cafe presents featured poets Donald Leff and Frank Murphy, plus an open mic at 7 p.m. Saturday, August 16th. $2 donation at 10 Main Street inside the Water Street Market in New Paltz. It's a terrific place, it's a terrific reading. It's been around for a long time as well. Then we have Poetry at the Church, Monday, August 25th, 2014. Featured poet, followed by open mic. TBA is going to be there again. If you missed them in the first one, you can catch them at the Goshen Methodist Church at 115 Main Street, Goshen, New York, near the Civil War statue. Duck. 7 p.m. Donations appreciated. Hosted by Ted Gill. Did you folks decide who wanted to go first? Ladies first.
Yes.
Okay. Hang on.
Okay.
Gotta read your bio so people know who you are. Roberta Gould's poems have appeared in many poetry magazines, most recently in B-O-G City, Up the River, Traveling Poets, Laughing Earth, and A Certain Slant of Light. I've been in Suicide.
And in Waymark.
And in Waymark, which we will discuss at the break. She is the author of 9 books, including 3 chapbooks and 2 unpublished manuscripts. She lives near the Ashokan Reservoir in Ulster County, was born in New York City, lived in Mexico as a student, and done various solidarity projects for Latin America, one entailing educating travelers on the need to tip well and desist from price haggling with street vendors in Mexico. Information about her books is available at her website, robertagould.net, along with a link to her blog. Without further ado, Roberta Gould.
That was a very wonderful words you said about me. I was amazed. Thank you so much. And it is a pleasure to be reading with Robert, who, as you said, he made a community, a poetry community here, without the egotism. I mean, he has the egotism of any human being, but without the egotism and the backbiting and the piranha syndrome that's often observable on artistic scenes as in any other human scenes. But people say, oh, poets. They're so disappointed when they see something, but they're just as miserable as other people.
Oh, yeah.
You know, it depends who they are. With that, I'm going to read my first poem. And the thing about these readings is, it impels one to keep going. So here I was organizing what I would read from the new manuscript I put together, not entirely organized yet, and taking out other ones, taking out some of them and saying, oh, I'm going to read these and these. And I keep getting these words, so I wrote this poem, and I'm going to start with this one that I wrote today. It's called, is it projecting one? Forensic Files. I've been studying psychopaths, sociopaths, serial killers, and rapists in my spare time. which has me recall the drug-borne
Beautiful handwriting.
the drug-borne, oh my God, there's a new book, has me recall the drug-borne, or those wilding or those, if here, wilding kindergarten, slaps in the face for love, plastic pistols fondled. I always wondered what became of them, they who trashed school, destruction their manner of expression. My friend objects to the program. Why don't they show the big boys atop their pyramid, sending kids to bomb the life out of any land they want? Necrophiliacs all. I'm aghast. Well, darling, I say, that would take a sea change. People loved more than objects, and then a quiet revolution. Meanwhile, I continue my addiction. 3 incidents are recorded, and I'm going into the TV room. I have a half hour left. I'm going to read poems that deal with art to start with. It could be writing, it could be painting, it could be puppets. And that was how I tentatively decided to organize this thing according to themes rather than as the spirit sees me. I like this, I don't know. Fame. I have a slow way of wording my soul into shape on the page, constellated in galactic alleys. Heavy-headed I heave around, faceless in fuzz blur. Would enter the main run of stars, burst supernova, announcing grandly, I am. But distant, past domed glass, its grand convex, I remain ever dim in sidereal guess. About. So here's about words and talking. So I wonder if you could keep the movement to a minimum. It's kind of distracting me, my dear friends. I'm a very distractible human being, very. About. It was a general conversation about finding and losing, climbing and falling, dusking and dawning. Yet it was more. The air invisible to us was replete with creatures the flies could see. The hands of the clock were no longer there. A flashing and beeping surpassed the centuries every once in a while. As the river flowed on, we didn't step in, watched from a millennial hill, unwilling to keep wheeling along. On becoming a writer, I don't do autobiographical stuff, I don't tell stories. I don't intend to do this, but that's how I am. And, I don't tell stories. Most writing now is stories, or it's working through your psychological processes and growing up from this stage to that stage, etc. Very nicely done. But this is an autobiographical piece on becoming a writer. Like a ball of cut glass, each facet casting back a universe with its soul. The paintings of one who expressed the longings and failures of a civilization. The storytellers whose words reverberated like temple gongs, and the stabbings and battles of men, successes to the primitives over whose bones they stand. What to study, what to do, the young one asked. And the elder replied, be a writer, that's what you're saying. And so it happened. The beach woman you saw at the eastern end of the island yesterday, writing letters with a stick, runnels announcing a grand synthesis in the sand, was me. How it started, I forget. But it returned from the vastness when you asked me, and I write it to you on the air. Painting, okay, painting. This was inspired by a show of this man, Sergio Garral, which I saw in the gallery behind the Zócalo in Mexico. Wild, kind of surreal, real, but he really had punch. I mean, he was really saying something. So, painting. And this is, I guess, surreal. I don't know if it makes sense, but we'll try. Don't steal that bishop from the shopping cart as he's wheeled with a bevy of squatters in the acrylic river Sergio creates, which is the beginning of water. All are grim in this grayness of time, luxury rampant in its cages, divas devoid of any smile, ready for a new round of business. Then a clone Führer raises a fist, and a goon in beauty shop dryer trails behind. When a stroke, look up, opens the sky, and dawn glimmers, having taken its sweet, certain time. Here's one about puppets. Maybe it's about puppets, but that's the image. The show must go on. The puppets dangling from their strings, suspended midair by their fat-fingered master, want to reach out and kiss the gaping mouths in the air beside them. What legs they suggest seem to kick out in a fury to be what they are. But they are dolls, despite our vision, our hearts that pity them, poor things. And the serious snag in their sky has stopped everything. We wait, limp and foolish, they swing back and forth. Everyone waits. A friend of mine said that was a political poem. I didn't have that in mind, but I suppose that. This one is called Art. I found this when I was culling my stuff on the computer about a couple of years ago. I culled most of my notebooks, and I went to, it's really a drag. But then you find a few poems, you throw a few poems on, and I was tweaking, for a few weeks. This is called Art 1995, so I guess it was written then. But I changed it and I worked on it because you get better as you go along, even though you may not have that much to say, but you get better at doing it. Art 1995. There's been a move from cash register to financial center, and this vantage over the moat where art stays in and the world's kept out. It won't work. Not that money won't take wing, be the rainbow if it can. Not that art doesn't know it sang many a song in the tower, but that color rests in no pocket, and sound has a life of its own. And this was when I was reading Wordcraft. The words are dozing, resting from work in the nuance factory, to regain their original nature after a lifetime of time and a half. Outside, flocks of poets lurk, nets in hand, ready to flip wrists and capture the brightest, the starkest, the most subtle, to compose poems with them if life doesn't intervene. If it does, there are always butterflies and flotillas of clouds drifting by.
Here.
Well, I want to thank you all for coming. Some pretty terrific people here and poets. Really nice, select audience. Now the second section was dealing with history, politics, the world, that kind of stuff. On resuming reading the morning newspaper, I have gotten this far only to witness monsters devour seafarers olive trees uprooted, flesh burned, and simple minds bought to purchase, and simple minds bought to praise slavery with a democratic twist, food stinted, dust dispensed, and whips cracked, so that the hand ignores itself to demolish anything worthy. From the back rooms of history, this passage of time. In January, there was a big explosion of a train in Megantic, Quebec, and everything was, the town was wrecked. And we haven't heard about Germany, but then there were other cars that the same thing happened here, no towns were wrecked. And a question, they were carrying all of this, this whatever they get from fracking and other energy sources, and they would go taking it from one end of the country to the other, and it just exploded, and they were using old cars to carry it in, and it was completely, deregulation. January 2014. The trains are rolling and the fuel exploding. Words are shrinking, noise is growing. Notions spring, thoughts dim. Love wanes, war reigns. But don't despair, it's a sin. Keep on, we will win. When the sky thins to dream, when the stones start to sing. On leaving La Serena, Chile, 1973. This is a narrative poem about what happened, which is not my general poem. The cakes she gave were not as great as the lives that weren't any longer. History's wheel having stopped at kill, politics and murder ending a generation of courageous voices. With casual generosity, she handed us the pastries, and we said goodbye from the steps of the bus, taking with us an image of her plaza and President Allende thanking the town the night before. We headed north through this desert to the start of starvation and slaves without chains. That was before the war began, secret blood spilled, and we remembered the cheer of the farm advisors shot at the wall a year later, imperial ships in the harbor. We ate the cakes and watched red sand from the window, remembering their smiles of departure, innocent of the future. Perhaps I should have prefaced it, this was a democratically elected government, and this was the coup of Pinochet, or whatever his name was, and they killed 30,000 people. It was really and when we saw Allende that time, he was, 6 months later he was assassinated. The imperial ships in the harbor were our ships in the harbor. And it was orchestrated by Kissenschmutz and Ronald Reagan. I'm sorry, Ronald Reagan or Richard Nixon? No, Richard Nixon. Was it Nixon? Oh yeah, Nixon and Kissenschmutz. Yeah, right. Okay, Growing Old Together for Ray and Richard Chavis, 2007. Ray just died. Aurelia, very nice woman, beautiful. Okay, Growing Old Together. He bellows curses at the TV whenever the president leaves his plane, walks in his expensive clothes past the cameras. His wife makes excuses for his obscenities as he names the president a fake cowboy, a cracker, and a motherfucker. She doesn't like the descriptions that illustrate his epithets. She was raised to be a lady, though she is not a Republican. The man is 85, and she bears his anger every day, TV being his main activity since having the bypass and a pacemaker. They live in the country. What can she do? When he sees the stakes raised, the country being pillaged, he won't stay quiet, and the shouting upsets her. She who has also had a heart attack. There's no limit to his gall, no shame to his cronies, he screams. And they're taking turns with his mother. No peace at all, but she will stay with him till the end. This is really the things he says. Memoriam. The unheard sentence, half-said phrase, fades on tufts of air. Incursion into emptiness, the probe not frozen, but gone to blossom with the dead. Children caught in yearly wars, the victims of our auto wrecks, those fallen down a flight of stairs. Ghosts, taken by error, their lives return. They are written back to existence, and their raised house stands reconstructed. From room to room they walk, fulfill what fire aborted. A special ink has achieved this. And last in this series is a poem called Me, 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 Me. I prided myself on my feet, but they gave out after circling the globe without resting. Calluses marred their beauty. Mine, you see, I am my body talking to the mirror. Am I serious? Well, I know who is acting and let you in on the secret. My feet, not the Colossus of Rhodes, nor Ginger Rogers flashed on the screen, but mine, which I've always prized. The world is getting hotter. They're starving and drowning, but I have an impending pedicure. Not to worry, hell's gone. It's 2013. When it's done, I will kiss my feet. Nervous back there? Nervous? You know, nervous? No. Oh, look like a lion is casing a cage.
Think of Rilke's poem.
Which one?
Think of Rilke's poem, The Panther.
Oh, okay. You can read it to us. Here's an old poem, a love poem. It's called A Birthday Poem on Separation. They vanish as those, I wrote this coming from England or something, from the continent to England. They vanish as those differences of heart, all poles in opposition when excluding. We fix upon the safety of a name that shuts out half the world. Here, there, invalid as the split called time that takes my tears when waiting between decks and says the tears I see are in my mind, a figment memory has chance to fix. Would claim as now the tin-tipped steps I place these feet on, say they're realer than your eyes I see when drawing in my gaze, would place us into worlds, each with its sun. And now my voice is gone where once I'd come to fret in wordy futures I can't talk. How definite the travelers I have been. The whizzing English sky grows slowly dark until the brimming moon so close comes out, incalculably constant and so bright. O peaceful island sky, O perfect birth, O glass ima that fills with diamond light. Ana means now, like imminent in Japanese also. Both ways. I couldn't depict your life and sell it, so I remained poor in heart and in purse. I couldn't remember your face, my loss, so you had to be with me lest I forget. What a material being I am, unable to hold water in my hands. If I could, there'd be no need, and I wouldn't lose both ways, wordless without you, near or far. Oh no, I got more, no. I have more than that, give me a few more, please. Yeah. Okay. They're pretty short. Too late. The crab you think the tide has churned up for your delectation has no body. You crack its shell and sand pours out. What's hollow was heavy with promise when you found it and carried it home, ignorant that the gulls had feasted first. Since there aren't too many people here, I give you an extra couple of minutes, Mr. Werner. Yeah, it's just a few people here. Late August. What's the rush, Cricket? Inquired Mr. Spider. Your hour has come. And there's a few poems about people, and but I think I will do a couple of crazy poems. Well, here's one about people. Ikiro, to live, a homage after that figure in his movie Kurosawa. To live, Ikiru. It was a hole in the ground where mosquitoes bred after the rain. He had retired, was on his way to the clouds on a swing in a snow-covered park. He'd done his true work these final months, found a way to repair what none had approached in the bureau where he'd sat at a desk all those years. The villagers, unable to reach the powers and find relief from insect-borne diseases, were human now. He had accomplished more than an atomic negotiator, and that was the gist. A life not wasted. That was the bit he did. No revolution possible, no revamping of everything, no chess pieces reconfigured, but that he'd sweated and strained and labored to get it done, which he did to his almost dying breath. Kurosawa filmed this. And so a few more? All right, okay, yeah, okay. Here's a crazy one, okay. A climb to the top. The solution to the problem of death is giving your name to another. You get a stand-in who agrees to take it. You climb to the top of a hill and cast yourself down. When you pass him at the tree line, you become immortal. Others follow your example. One rolls off a cliff. His namesake at the bottom fields him as he falls. Another stirs a minor landslide, but passing his future at breath's range, achieves his purpose. Nobody suffers. And yet, the people condemn this. A separate class will be formed by these mistaken acts, which are not in the national order. The police come, disperse the line which has formed at the top of the mountain. Questers who've waited and are now disappointed. The village returns to normal and wends its way home. Was it a dream? I kicked the football to the far stands, first time without practice. But the champion chose me and I obeyed, took the plastic ball and exuberantly failed. This after crossing a pitch-black boulevard and successfully avoiding traffic. You could call me miracle child. I was still there. Then I reached into a wooden barrel, picked the wrong fish, and didn't care. Except that the radios were blasting and money had crossed the wide seas to buy up the airwaves. And though Beethoven existed, freedom was tied to a post, and the rifles were ready. This was the limit. I could bear it no more, and tried to open my eyes and wake up. And I'll end with a very simple poem, which, I have just three real short ones. This is called Not Buddha, referring to the summer, you know. The fan may blow these gnats across my lids, but no sheet can shield the skin from their incursions. Not to try, though, would say, I'm glad to be their feast. Not so. Separate, I curse the welts that swell my feet, and am the singeing lamp that hisses them out. Fumes of death rise over the place. Mine, my flag, my name. No feathers. I was referring to some pretty nasty people that reminded me of the girls who whispered in Salem, and people got burned as a result. No feathers. Like any good duck, there's blood in these veins, not mushroom juice. But I have no feathers. Things can slide off. Just the skin, an unadorned covering. It absorbs what touches it, which becomes your devious gaze, your devious rage. Give me a coat of mail, a spiked fence to frighten you off, so that you stay far, the demands of hell firing up behind your proper face that has fooled so many of us. Vade retrum. That's what they used to say. Go back! Vade retrum to the devils. And the last poem, a very simple little poem, Mulling. That was after I met the witches of the witch hunters or whoever they those. Oh, God. So mulling. I passed the exit to Kingston, driving well but forgetting what road I was on, so that I had to continue to the next exit, then turn back to where I started, a mile from the road I usually took. What could I do but drive extra slow and continue to mull the week in my head, a difficult task, not remembering the little digital recorder in my pocket, where it sat with an extra car key and a $1 bill.